Welcome to our very first podcast, On Scene with Richmond County Sheriff's Office. I am one of your hosts, Lieutenant Kimberly Lee.
And I'm Lieutenant Lucas Grant. I would like to thank you for this opportunity of being your co-host.
No problem.
Here on this show. But before we start this show, we need to tell everyone about ourselves a little bit. So if you would, tell the people about who you are.
Thank you. Again, I'm Lieutenant Kimberly Lee. I work here at the Sheriff's Office. I'm currently assigned to the Public Information Office and the Internal Affairs Division. Prior to that, I worked in violent crimes as a violent crime investigator. I started in 2013, so I'm going into my 10th year here at the Sheriff's Office. And from there, I was promoted to actually a sergeant in the Internal Affairs Division. So I kind of have been an investigator and in that mode since I've been here at the Sheriff's Office. When I was upstairs, I call it CID upstairs.
Yeah.
So you'll hear me talking about that, and it has to do with the physical location in this building.
Right.
When I was there, that's actually where I met you.
That is where we met.
I think you weren't an investigator at the time, but you were on the gang unit or whatever, and you would come upstairs and you were like this very energetic guy. And I was like, who is this person? Now I know who you are. I found out who you are. So why don't you tell people who don't know you a little bit about yourself?
So I started my career in 2010. I've had the opportunity to work up under two administrations. The first administration being Sheriff Ronnie Strength and, of course, Sheriff Richard Roundtree. But in 2010, I started as a deputy jailer. I worked in there for about a year and a half, and then I had the opportunity to go to the academy and graduate and basically become a road patrol officer. Mm-hmm. I worked in the road patrol for a short amount of time, then was transferred to a specialized unit known as housing, but we no longer have that unit. I then made another transfer in 2013, like you were saying to everybody, that's where we met, but I was working on the gang unit during that time. After that, I was then promoted to the ranks of investigator, where I worked in violent crimes. I started out working at night, then later, moved to days. But after that, I made another transfer as an investigator.
Just moving around,
absolutely, making sure, I'm an impact throughout any division that I moved to.
Okay, impact.
But I then became the sole homicide investigator for the Sheriff's Office. And during that time, I had the opportunity to hold the highest arrest rate, conviction rate, and solvability rate.
Okay.
But I was following in some very big footsteps because, as everybody knows, Sheriff Richard Roundtree also worked in that division when he was
homicide investigator.
Exactly. But fast forwarding up to now, I am currently the lieutenant in our community service division, where I am a division commander as well, and on the command staff for Sheriff Roundtree. And of course, both of us actually are on that command staff.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where the ideal kind of came from, doing the podcast.
Right.
There were things that, from the public information side of it, we felt like we weren't telling our own story.
Right.
We felt like, the news media, of course, and different outlets would ask for information, whether it's statistics or interviews with the sheriff or the chief or different divisions at the sheriff's office. And we're not saying that it was bad publicity. It was just not the total story.
Correct.
I believe you've been interviewed by news media before. And it's just, you can sit there for about 10, 15 minutes doing an interview.
Yeah.
But once it airs, it's like, a clip.
Yep. Maybe 5 seconds here.
Maybe 5 seconds here, 5 seconds there.
Right.
So they don't get the entire story.
Right.
Of what that topic is.
Right.
And Chief, he was most vocal about it. saying, hey, let's find a way to tell our own story.
Absolutely.
And with me being a fan of news stories, listening to, documentaries, one thing that I found, a lot of those spawned podcasts.
Yep.
It's like, why not do it?
Right.
So I pitched the idea, asking folks would they be a part of it. You were on my mind for guest hosts because you bring out, like you said, impact. You bring that out. So I needed someone pretty impactful, that ball of energy like I remember in 2013.
Yeah.
So here it is. And here we are on our first episode. So, which later what you'll see is a pre-recorded interview that we had with Sheriff Richard Roundtree.
Yeah.
So we will get to that. I felt like it was important for Car 1 to be on our first episode. So you will hear from him. But let's tell you about a little bit first. The podcast is really about community engagement.
Absolutely. We want to make sure that we're providing our community with different ways to engage with them, no matter if it's our community services division and the programs that we have or different platforms that we see fit as an agency for our community to be, put out there, whether it's social media, whether it's now our podcast, but just different ways to stay engaged, to build relationships, and to be able to educate our citizens about our sheriff's office. Their sheriff's office. Their sheriff's office,
yes. You'll hear the sheriff talk about that, that it's not his agency.
That's correct.
It's the public's agency. And with that, we do know some people probably have had a chance to participate in some of the events that we do have that's open to the public.
Yeah.
They are free. There's only one that's not, and that's the Sheriff's Gala that's held in January.
Right.
And you'll hear the sheriff talk about, even though it's not a free event, how that money goes back into the community. So he'll talk about that. That'll be coming back around, hopefully, in January of 2024.
Correct.
But we have some things that are coming up very recent.
Yeah, so we have coming up here on April 22nd of this year, we have our drug take back where citizens are able to go and give different prescriptions that they may not use anymore so that they don't fall into the wrong hands to certain locations. And of course, we're able to put that out for them information-wise and let them know where those locations are when that time comes. But on that same day, we also have citizens firearm safety class at our training range. And with that class, we're trying to teach our citizens basically the importance of how to use a firearm and the safety of their own well-being when using a firearm. But that's not the only thing that we have. We also have coming up in May, Shred Day. And that's been a really good event for us when we started it, where our citizens are able to bring old documentations or current documentations here to the sheriff's office, where we have the shred truck on site and the employee that basically takes those documents, puts them in this bin, and shreds them right in front of them.
Right in front of them. And it's usually, and that's in May.
Yeah, that's on May 10th. Yep.
And we usually hold it across the street at the 401, or people refer to it as the old jail.
That's correct.
So we'll be putting those things out through our office. So you can look at the website, social media,
right.
For if there's anything that you actually need to sign up for. I believe citizens, the gun safety class,
yes,
you do have to sign up for that.
That's correct.
But we'll be putting that information out. So if you want to participate in those things, you can participate.
Right. Yeah, we encourage everybody to, be a participant in anything that we do. Just like this podcast that we're doing right now, we want people to tune in. We want people to send in questions. We want people to watch. So we want to make sure we're providing our citizens with all opportunities to be a part.
Absolutely. And when we come back, we will hear from Car 1 on our first episode.
Very exciting. I tell you,
Very
you'll
exciting.
enjoy it.
All right, we want to welcome our very first guest on our very first episode, Sheriff Richard Roundtree.
Well, I'm happy to be here. I'm excited about the venture.
Tell us, for viewers who don't know who you are, tell us who you are and why you kind of approved this platform of the podcast.
Well, I say I'm Sheriff Roundtree. I've been sheriff since 2013. Been fortunate enough to be elected 3 times by the voters of Richmond County, so I'm very proud of that, this being my hometown and all. You know, as we go, like I said, I've been in this for 10 years, and we always trying to do things to engage the public, to do more and more activities and events where the public can stay informed. And, you know, a few years ago, this podcast stuff will come back, but I'm an old school kind of guy, and so I really didn't embrace it much. But as I traveled the country and saw some of the things that people were doing and really looking at it, and people were talking about different casts, and I would see little blurts of them, you know, I thought, you know, why not have an avenue where, one, we can connect with our citizens, and 2, have an avenue to be able to tell our own stories sometimes, because it's kind of hard in the national narrative being as large as we are a nation. We find ourselves in the news a lot, but you don't get but 90 or 120 seconds of news bite, and people take that as a story, and they don't know the backstory of things. So it gives us an opportunity, one, to showcase things that we're doing here in Richmond County, and also to tell our story to the public and the people.
Okay. And working in the Public Information Office, I am aware we get a lot of information requests and interview requests, and it does seem like it's just that very small soundbite. And we hadn't had the chance to kind of tell the entire story or our story. So we do appreciate giving us the opportunity to do that.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. I hope as we grow and expand and get more people involved, that this will be a long-term venture for us, and just another notch. We're not going to stop doing other things in our community, some of the events that we're doing, but hopefully, like I said, this is just one more avenue. You know, it's just a small investment of time, but it gives so much back to the community for them to actually see us, see different parts of the agency, and again, when things happen, to really just come out and tell our story.
Oh, that's good, Sheriff. One question I do want to ask you, just about the different challenges you may have faced since you've been here as the sheriff of this agency.
Well, you know, we're so large that there's always going to be something. I mean, it's one of those things when they say, you know, you like paint a battleship, you never really finish them. By the time you get to the end, you got to restart again. So the biggest challenge, I guess, when I first started 10 years ago, and I told my staff at the time, we are a battleship. So it's going to take a moment to see us turning, even though we're going in a different direction. And again, I worked for 2 past sheriffs, and I learned a lot from them, but our philosophy is a little bit different as far as sheriff and community policing. So I know I wanted to go in a different direction. So I told them, I said, look, this ship is going to start turning, but it's going to take some time before you actually see the ship turn.
Right.
So the biggest thing was getting, again, the staff and our guys to kind of buy into the new system. That was the most challenging part of it, because they were just, one of the things, you know, complacency, what people hear, change is hard, but, you know, one of the biggest things that people hear in jobs is we've always done it that way.
Correct.
People get set in their ways, and they don't want to change. So that was the biggest challenge. I think that we've overcome that now, 10 years into it. Now, you know, our biggest thing is, again, trying to maintain the things that we've done, reinforce some of the things that we do. Again, keep the public's trust, let them know that we're still doing everything that we can possibly do. We're not perfect, as we found out last week, you know, when we had an instance with the deputies and I had to do a news conference.
Right.
That we're not always going to be perfect, but we are going to own our mistakes, and we're going to try to correct those. So that's the biggest thing that we got going now, is to try to maintain the momentum that we got for 10 years. And then, like I say, just try to build more momentum with the public, with events, so they know that no matter what happens, that we're going to have their backs. And the biggest thing about letting the deputies know that the citizens have their back.
Right, right. And I'm glad that you brought that up about the press conference and everything, because I want to talk about that a little bit, get you to talk to the people. Just if you'll let the people know why it's so important to you about being so transparent when it comes down to situations we have here at the Sheriff's Office, like the press conference that you had yesterday?
Well, one of the things, and I asked the media this a while back and stuff, that, it seems like sometimes we don't get a fair shake here in Richmond County, where other agencies kind of get passed on certain things, and they told us because we are the biggest market.
Right.
That's where their viewers come from, and I understand that as a business model. But my thing was, especially with something like that, and then with social media, which I tell people, social media is a great tool. I mean, we're using it now, but some people weaponize it.
Right.
And they come up with their own narrative about certain things, and then, the first thing to say, all the deputies are crooked, it happens all the time, which that is not the case. But, people get with that narrative, and they run with it because they have a social media platform that they run with it. So I thought it was important, one, to get out and show exactly that we acknowledge what's going on, the problems that we have. And then that's when I made the decision that I thought it was important to show the video.
Right.
Because it was so egregious that, one, I wanted our deputies to see how egregious it was, but I wanted the public to see that we're not willing to hide anything with that. So, a lot of people were surprised. I mean, we didn't think you would show the video. And I thought that was the most important part of the news conference, to say, look, we're just going to show you what happened. Right. And we're going to talk about it, and we're going to try to ensure that it never happens again.
And I think that's good because it takes away from the media possibly being able to create their own story when it comes down to that. So I really applaud you on that, sir. Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
So with the challenges that you say that you face, and since you've been here with 10 years, any success that you feel like you would like to highlight and kind of talk about, or like what you plan on doing going forward?
Yeah, I mean, I think we had a lot of successes here, some big and some that set up other things. One, our community service division, when we created this division to engage directly with the public, to come up with programs where the sheriff office can be a part of the community and not just go out and police. Policing, I've been doing this 30 years. Policing itself, you can just go out, you can answer calls and take reports and move on. I mean, it can be mundane, but that is not really affecting change. That is reacting to bad situations, car wrecks, domestics, those type things, and you react and you handle the call and you leave. But that is not affecting change. So one of the biggest things that we wanted to do during my administration was to exact change. Whereas if a deputy goes to a call, a burglary or theft or whatever, that he spends time with that family and lets them know, hey, this is important to us. And not only just somebody broke into your house, let me go to the neighbor's house and let them know that there's a burglary that occurred. Somebody broke in the house so they can be more vigilant. And I tell them a call takes as long as the call takes. We were trying to resolve the situation and keep it from happening again. So once we got the deputies to buy into that, then we start seeing the public saying, hey, we really appreciate when the deputy came to my house. I called the deputy, came, he helped me with this. I was stranded on the side of the road. He helped change my tire. He gave me a ride home. All these things 10 years ago was not in our preview. We weren't allowed to do those things. We were just merely almost call takers into the fact. So seeing that and seeing the evolution of that, seeing that the public interest, I think that is going to be our biggest success. And I hear it. I'm a member of the Exchange Club, and we run a fair every year, and usually I'm always on one of the gates. And it is so heartwarming to me when you get people, and I'm talking about people from all walks of life, creeds, color, North Augusta, elderly, young people. For some reason, the kids always call me by my full name. So that's Richard Roundtree. But, when they come there and they recognize it and they make it a point to say, you're doing an outstanding job, and I say I have an outstanding team. And I say that more than I'm saying hello or welcome to the fair, because people are coming up and noticing, saying, hey, your guys are doing an outstanding job. I appreciate them so much. And that just reinforces, sometimes when sometimes you can get down on yourself and think, am I doing enough? Are we affecting change? Are we, doing enough? Are we being present enough in people's lives? And you kind of get down, but then when you have those moments, that when it validates that, we are doing some things right and it's starting to resonate with our community. So, that's our big success story is that we're starting to see the fruits of our labor.
And I know you said that the kids call you by your first name.
First and last name.
First and last name. Like, how do they know you? But then I remember we have community events throughout the year. One of my favorite ones, not kid specific, but the gala. We just had that.
Right.
It was a big success.
Yeah.
But we were able to give back to the community with that. Can you kind of talk about?
We started the gala the first year in office, and besides the COVID year, so this was our 9th gala. It would have been our 11th, but 2 years for COVID. And just through the gala, we've given over $100,000 to local charities, and we try to make sure it's local charities. People, and we vet them to make sure they're actually doing something. Mm-hmm. Now, we donate, again, to different charities, but that is our biggest event where we're going to give at least $10,000 back, and sometimes we give 15, or depending on what we raise. But like I said, we maybe give over $100,000 to charities over the last 10 years. And that's what makes it great. We said we're not in it to make money. We're in it to make enough money to give right back to the community. Mm-hmm. And these are different groups. We don't do repeats. So you're saying, if we do a minimum of 4 a year. So if you do the math and 4 times 9, it lets you know that how many local charities that we've donated to, and they appreciate the fact that they can really use the money and put back in this community. So. We're going to keep doing it. We hope people keep supporting us. We keep getting bigger and bigger each year. This year, we sold out, and we started late with sales, but we sold out at least 3 weeks prior to the gala that people were looking for tickets, and we just didn't have the space in the room.
I am aware because I almost didn't get a ticket, and I work here, and I'm still trying to figure that out.
You can't wait. You can't wait.
So next year, I will make sure I get it.
Tickets go on sale. We tell people.
You better get your ticket.
Yes.
Better get your ticket.
That's right.
But there are 3 other events that we do? I know Halloween is another one of my favorite whenever I can get to dress up. I love that. And you come with the most creative, I guess I can say, costumes.
Every year.
It's a big deal for us. We used to do it in the building where the kids would come through all day, and that was special because most of the staff would participate, and they would dress up and give out candy stops, and kids would go all throughout the building throughout the day. But when COVID hit and transportation stopped and school shut down, traditional school shut down, that kind of stopped that. But we said we wanted to find a safe way to still try to have the event. So we thought about it, say, let's do a drive-through and just see what that happens, see what that looks like. Can we at least see some people come? And we were overwhelmed the first year because people started lining, and we started at 6 o'clock. People started lining up right after 5 o'clock.
Yes.
And,
we had some walk-ins too.
down.
I remember that.
We had some people walking through. So once we saw that first year and saw the success, then we like, you know what? Let's modify this a little bit more. Let's add some more bells and whistles and really anticipate a large turnout of a crowd and make it, with traffic and flow and safety. And since then, it's been stellar. People loved it. They come through. The kids love it. We have the inflatable stops where they can see different things with pumpkins and, different characters and whatnot. And it is just a festive 2 hours that we just can give back. And we're steady throughout those 2 hours. And that's another thing they say, that we're just giving back to the public and let them know that we're just not here to enforce the laws of the state of Georgia. We're a service agency. We're here to be of service to this community.
And I think that's so important just for people to hear you talk about. And as we're talking about the different events that you have going on throughout the year, if you could talk about the Burgers and Shakes event that you have as well.
Yeah, Burgers and Shakes, we started that. First year we started at the Commons, and we did it during a weekday. And didn't understand the success we were going to have with that one, too. Where people, say, hey, it's a free lunch. And I tell them, anything we do here, and I really like to do it top notch and first. Because I told them, I said, don't bring me that little quarter-pound burger. That's not, I got to have the big bubbles, and I got to have the big burgers.
That's right. That's right.
So one thing we're going to do is say, look, first we're going to start off with a good sized burger to give to the people. So, we started that and had a good person on the grill. In our first year, at the common. When they say burgers and shakes, we were really talking about handshakes, but we say, look, it's in the summer. Let's do some milkshakes. And the first year, we were doing them by hand. Yeah. And again, first year, trying to start something, the idea was great, but logistically, we really didn't know what we were doing because we put the ice cream in the freezer the night before, and the next day it was so frozen they couldn't even drink it. They couldn't even scoop it out the. So the shakes were a little slow that year. So then we learned, say, look, if we're going to have this kind of success, let's kind of farm this out a little bit,
right.
So to people who actually do milkshakes and just get them delivered here. So we partnered again with Sonics one year. Then with Checkers came on, and they gave us a good deal on break. But again, you donate to the local economy, and we're giving back to the public. And they do shakes for a living. So
right.
We find out where we get that. We got the refrigerated trucks, so we weren't making so many runs. So once we learn to do it, it becomes one of the events where you can just come out and just speak to people. And it's one of those events where they can come out and when you say they can come out and touch me, they can come out and I have a conversation with them and shake their hand and tell them what we're doing right, tell them what we're doing wrong, some things they want to see. When people say, well, I can't never talk to the sheriff, we have these events. Please come out. That's what one of those events. Because I can't touch everybody. This county is so large, it's just hard for me to touch everybody. That's why I try to get people to say, look, I got over 700 employees. Let them help you. Right. Let them try to solve your problem for you. I'm going to help you all I can. But that's why they are there. They're there to fill that gap because there's over 200,000 people in Richmond County, and I can't touch every one of them.
Right.
But, my people are an extension of me, and that's what I want them to be able to do and understand. But, having those burger and shakes events and let them know we advertise it, I will be there, and, I'm there for 2.5 hours. And if you're there, if you want to talk, we can talk.
That's right. That's right. Well, I know we're getting close to the time and everything, but I want to ask you this question here because it's a brand new year, 2023. And I know you and your team have different goals throughout the year going forward. If you could talk a little bit about goals going into this year here, along with future years possibly to come.
Well, I'm huge in technology, and that's one of the things that when we started 10 years ago, that was one of my covenants to the community that we were going to try to get a county-wide surveillance system. We're now kind of at the starting point where we can start the infrastructure. First we started with the body-worn cameras. That was something that Chief Clayton and I started at the Board of Education, and we brought it over here. So that's one of the things we want to do, be able to equip every deputy with a body-worn camera. Just again showing that transparency that we're not afraid to show the work that we've done.
Right.
Even with that, cops have been down here 3 times to film.
Yeah.
So we was like, look, let's showcase. We have nothing to hide. Bring them down, and so. But now we went to this new flock camera system that helps us solve many murders and theft calls. But now, we're going to start our downtown camera system for surveillance, and Chief Clayton is spearheading that. So eventually, if we can get that in place as a base point to look at, and then eventually we want to expand it throughout Richmond County. So, that's what we're looking at this year is expanding that technology so we can have a better reach. Also talk to some of the traffic engineers that we can tie into some of these traffic cameras, not for enforcement purposes. And I want to tell people we're not trying to write tickets from cameras. So, but it just gives us more line of sight to the city of something that's already up, and we just tap into that system. So, that's what we're looking at this year is going to be probably our biggest leap is in technology that way. And then the other thing, like I say, since COVID is it's still present, and we still have to be cautious about things we do. But we really want to start back getting into the public, get back doing events and being visible and participating more, before they can see us again, not just as a law enforcement entity.
Good. Well, Sheriff, we definitely want to say thank you for being a part of this show as our special guest for our first episode, and we look forward to the great work that you will continue, you and your team, and we appreciate you being here.
Yeah, I'm excited about the venture. I'm glad y'all pitched it to me. It took me a minute to come on board. I'll be honest. It sat on my desk for a little while, but y'all have done a great job. Y'all have done a wonderful job with the set. I think it looks great. I thank y'all for donating your time to do it, to get the word out to our public, and I look forward to following it and watching it, and hopefully I can come back and answer some questions if need be. And also it gives us a platform when we do have some incidents like we had last week, that at least I can come on and at least address some of those things directly to the people. So
absolutely,
I'm extremely excited about, and hopefully you get a whole bunch of followers and likes.
Followers and likes and
subscriptions.
That's right.
Okay, follow and likes and description. Okay.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Well, thank you so much. We appreciate it.
All right. Thank y'all.
All right. So what a great opportunity as we brought in our first episode, just getting the opportunity to have Sheriff Richard Roundtree come in, speak to everyone in regards to our first podcast. So I really enjoyed that. What about you?
Always. The sheriff is full of knowledge. He's been in this business for a very long time. I think he's done a great job in trying to be transparent with everyone. And again, like we keep saying, community engagement.
Oh, yeah.
That is the biggest thing that he stresses to us and the community. Again, like he said, and like we've already said, this is your sheriff's office.
Right.
It's not his sheriff's office, but it's yours. So,
right.
And that's, again, why we wanted to use another platform to be for the community to be involved with their sheriff's office.
Right. So I know that we have a few things that we definitely need to talk about before we come to the end of our show, and I know that you have some stuff over there when it comes down to the different zones that we have here throughout our community, if you want to talk to everyone about them.
Yes. So if you don't know, the Richmond County is divided into zones.
That's correct.
And we have 8 zones here. And depending on where you are, those are the deputies or lieutenants, whatever, that you will have responding to your location. So if you go on our website, if you're not familiar with what zone you actually live in, I know things happen all around the county, and you may need them somewhere else and not necessarily where you live. But it's good to know who is patrolling or who is in your area.
Yes.
So on our website, there is a tab there where you can actually plug in your address.
Right.
And you will know what zone you live in and who that zone lieutenant is.
Right.
For you to contact if you have any questions or anything like that. You can definitely do that.
But not only that, just get an opportunity to call in and meet that zone lieutenant and let them know, hey, this may be some stuff going on in the neighborhood that you want to be aware of, or just getting to know who that person is in general.
Yes. And that's one of the things we talked about, community policing.
Correct.
That was a big push. I know when the sheriff became the sheriff, here was that community policing. So get to know who's in your zone and get to know your zone lieutenant.
Yeah.
And with that, we have operation meetings about what is going on in your zones too. When it comes to burglaries, car break-ins, violent crimes, property crimes, financial crimes. And one thing, I've started attending these meetings because being in the PIO, I kind of want to know what messages we need to push out when it comes to personal safety, protection of property, and things like that.
Right.
And one thing across all zones are enter and autos.
Yes.
That is one thing that people can kind of do on their own to kind of prevent that from happening.
Right.
So just a couple numbers. Last year, and actually enter and autos, they are going down. They're trending downward. In 2021, it looks like we had 1652 enter and autos. In 2022, we had 1,474 internal autos.
Oh, good. That's
so that's a decrease.
Yeah.
And we want to continue that decrease. So what I'm asking everyone to do, I know that we had, for a while, a 9 p.m. routine.
Yes.
Which means at 9 p.m., you will pick up your key fob.
Right.
You'll press the lock button just to make sure your door is locked.
Correct.
Or physically go out there and check it, make sure there are no valuables in sight.
Right.
Because what's happening is, and I've been a victim of it, I forget to lock my door. I'm bringing in groceries, or, my mind is preoccupied with something else.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'll go back out and lock it.
Right.
And now, I forgot. Or I actually forgot my key fob one time in my car, sitting in my driver's seat.
Right.
And it scared me. My keys were there, but it scared me.
Yeah.
Because I know that what people are doing, they're just doing the door handle.
Yeah. Pulling on those door handles, see if they're open.
Something really quick.
Yep.
It doesn't make much noise. They can be in and out very quickly. So my entire car could have been gone.
Yeah.
So just at 9 o'clock, check your cars, turn your alarms on in your homes, make sure your doors are locked. And we're going to call that the 9 p.m. routine.
Yeah. And just to, piggyback up off of that, there are certain things that are left in vehicles that are very important valuables to individuals who become victims of this. And most importantly, one of them, I would say, could be guns. Mm-hmm. And that can be used in a very harmful way if it falls in the wrong hands. So we definitely want to make sure everyone understands the importance of locking their vehicles and making sure that they protect their property.
And if you want to keep your guns in the car, I know some people want to because they don't want to forget it.
Right.
I just did a quick Google search before the podcast for vehicle gun safes.
Right.
And you'll see them. Different price points, just depending on what you're looking for. But if you are going to keep your weapon in the car, think about purchasing something like that, or having something to where it is secure and someone can't get to it if you so happen to forget to lock your door.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, I think that's the zone report.
That's
but
the
there
zone
are
report.
2 more important things I do want to go over. I talked about upstairs and downstairs. Downstairs being kind of where I live at the sheriff's office in internal affairs, but upstairs would be CID.
Right.
And we just this week put out, we re-released a bolo for Kevin Coatney Jr. His family has put out a $10,000 reward for information leading to the arrest and conviction of the person responsible for his death.
Yeah.
If you don't remember, Kevin Coatney passed away on January the 30th of 2022 while he was attempting to leave Club 706 on Deansbridge Road. So if you have any information that would be helpful to the homicide investigators or anyone that you would like to, you can submit a tip. I think you can also do that.
You can do that
online. But just if you have any information, no matter how small it is, people would think like, oh, maybe they already have that information. And you're a homicide investigator.
Absolutely.
So if you can just let them know, like, any information, I don't care if you get it like 10 times.
Right.
That one little thing that you may have could just solve that case.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And on those bolos, there are a phone number that they can call. Does it it has that phone number? If you can tell the people what that phone number is.
Yes, you can call 706-821-1020 or 706-821-1080 and just ask for a violent crime investigator.
Absolutely.
All right. And another thing that we kind of want to do also, not just with homicide victims, but also missing persons.
Yes.
And I spoke with our missing persons investigator. He wanted me to talk about Mr. Byron Speller. Mm-hmm. He is 24 years old, but he was missing and last seen on June 29th, 2018, at the 3400 block of Riceboro Road. He was driving a 2005 Chevrolet Trailblazer. It's burgundy in color, and it was later located abandoned on the 2200 block of Lumpkin Road. At the time, he was wearing a white shirt, blue jeans, and boots. So, again, with the message that we just talked about, if you have any information, no matter how small,
Absolutely.
Contact the sheriff's office at the
Absolutely.
same number. Ask for any violent crimes investigator.
Well, I appreciate you going over that because it's very important, both of those bolos. And I know that both of those families are definitely needing your assistance. So please reach out, contact us with any amount of information you may have in regards to either one of those bolos. But as we end our podcast for today, we definitely want to talk about our recruiting aspect of things, as we always are looking for the best candidates to come apply. And
Best of the best of the best.
if you are wanting to apply, please go to our website, or you can come down here to the sheriff's office, which is located at 400 Walton Way, and we will make sure that you get in contact with the right individuals here to be able to walk you through those steps so that you can become a part of our team.
Is there anything else you wanted to, or you felt that was important to discuss before episode 2?
Yeah, I also want to talk about how citizens can also send questions in that they may have to be answered on our podcast by whether it's you or I or a special guest that may be coming on. And the way that you can do that is you can send an email to the Community Services Division at augustaga.gov. And I'll repeat that for you. And that's Community Services Division at augustaga.gov. Or you can go to our social media sites where you can send a message in our inbox, whether that's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and then we'll be able to get those questions. That way we can also put them on our show and be able to answer them to the best of our ability.
Thank you for reminding me about that one.
Absolutely.
Yes, that's one of the most important ones, because we want you to be a part and be able to give comments and ask those questions. That is why we started, again, this podcast, for more community engagement.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So until next time.
See you soon.
Thank you.